All right, welcome to Inside the 90. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that Andrew and I were just talking about this morning, which is two key components to the EOS VTO, which is the 10-year target and the 3-year picture.
Yeah, and this idea spurred from yesterday.
Correct. Yeah.
So yesterday in Flywheel, and you spoke on this topic.
Yeah, we're doing a cohort every quarter. And the first, so we're working with new founders. And the idea is founders of professional services companies. And how do you go from one to many, that being from you yourself to hiring additional people and teammates. And so we had about 20 people come. And I got the opportunity it really wasn't selling EOS. I was just explaining how you cast vision. And what's exciting as a founder is understanding how you can cast a vision of what you want your life to be a decade out, and then you have the opportunity to build the business with it. So it was fertile soil for this group. You know, they weren't really mature in their organization, hadn't built a team or anything yet. But really, the power of that 10-year target, and then get clarity on that 3-year picture. I get excited about it. So, from your experience, working with so many teams or running with EOS, where do you see? Where do you see the initial challenges with that and the opportunities?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think from challenges with it, when I think about the 10-year target, 3-year picture, just that overall thinking, innately teams either get it right away because they've been in that mindset of like, where do we want to go long term and what are the steps we need to do it? Or it's a brand new concept in a lot of ways. And it all depends on how the organization grew, because sometimes we'll grow with just what's the next thing in front of us.
Yeah.
I see this a lot in more service-based organizations where it's just our organization's going to grow in a way based on the opportunities that we get, right? This type of work comes in the door, we're going to do it, and all of a sudden now, because we've done that type of work, it leads to this opportunity, it leads to this, it leads to that. Where other organizations, maybe think of it as like a product. If I'm a software product, they usually have a longer term vision of what it's going to become and how to get there. So I think some of the challenges is just a mindset of like, are we in that mindset to understand the value of a 10-year target and what it's actually there for and what's the purpose of it?
Yeah.
And I think of the purpose of the 10-year target really like two major things. One is like understanding and get in alignment of where we want to go and starting to build by design. And the second thing is to get everybody else on the same page to rally behind that and really understand that the work that we're doing day in and day out is for greater good.
Yeah.
And it's pushing towards that 10-year target.
Yeah, and I think you hit something there for me that the greater good idea. And I believe all businesses were started for the common good, right? There was a problem to solve.
Yeah.
And there's been a trend in the past decade of wanting to do, business for good. And you see it very common in advertising agencies. Why? Because we don't have a product or service. Our service is helping other people tell their story. And I think there was this trend where then people are like, well, if we're going to be an agency, we only want to work with clients that do good.
Yeah.
And one of my very first clients was a dumpster lid manufacturer, and I'm like, they kept alleys from smelling bad, right? There's a common good there. Yeah. It doesn't have to. You don't have to only work with Patagonia to do good in the world, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So I think that really taking time to figure out like what is this target, and it can be, as we've talked a lot, it can be revenue. If revenue is what's going to rally your team, most of the time it's not.
Yeah, that's where most of teams, the first thing we do is put revenue on the target, because it's like in a lot of ways that 10-year target should represent growth in some way, right? Now, the definition of growth, it may not be what you think. It's not growing for size. It doesn't have to be for size. It could be for impact. It could be for profitability. It could be for internal growth. Like there's a lot of different ways to grow. And so because of that growth of like, hey, where do we want to go? Usually people will put revenue or X number of widgets or something like that. That's usually the first pass on it. The challenge with that is that it's harder to rally a team around revenue.
Yep.
Right? There's times in moments where revenue as a target makes a lot of sense, right?
It also doesn't translate externally.
Correct.
Right. So if you're on a mission and that mission is valuable to your customers, but you explain that your vision is $100 million in revenue, there's no benefit to the client for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where one thing I do want to call out, because you said it, is I actually believe that this 10-year target does not need to be externally driven.
Okay.
It shouldn't be externally driven. It's created for our internal drive.
Yes.
And our internal purposes. If it makes sense, you can turn it external.
Yeah.
Right? But it's actually the purpose is for internally.
Well, and I would say that for ours, because it took me a while to get here for us. But
Yes.
like where our purpose, passion, or cause on the VTO is activating brands from the inside out. That's actually why I wanted to create this business. That's what I love doing. And then it took a while to get to, all right, well, then our 10-year target is we just want to do that for 50 brands.
Yes.
So it's just activate 50 brands from the inside out. If we do that, all the revenue comes, all the impact comes, because if we do that well, and if that's 50 brands with 200 employees, we've just we've just affected.
Affected.
It's not
Hopefully it's not an infection.
Actually, we do. We want them to rally around it. We want them to get infected with their own brand.
Yeah.
But then that's 10,000 people that we've given a better work day, right?
Yeah, and I love your 10-year target because it's tangible.
Yeah.
Everybody understands it. Every time that you achieve one, it's on our way to our 10-year target.
Correct.
And everybody can rally behind it. Everybody has has a purpose behind, like a role behind activating one of those brands.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we have this 10-year target. Let's talk about maybe where it goes wrong at times. Revenue we talked about, right?
Yeah.
That's one. I've also seen 10-year targets be really just fluffy.
Yeah. Very soft.
Where it's like we have a 10-year target that says we want every client to refer us, right? Like that's a little bit soft. Like that's not.
Yeah.
No one can really grab onto that thing. So I always say, at church when you're having a raiser for something, there's that thermometer on the wall, and we're just ticking away.
Yeah.
And every dollar in gets closer and closer to our goal. We should be able to have that type of a feel.
Yeah.
With our 10-year target.
Yeah.
The other thing about the 10-year target is that it takes about a year for teams to really get it and understand it. Because as we build the 10-year target, what we're doing are then everything's going to be aligned with that. We're going to build our marketing strategy that's going to be the right audience, the right product, saying the right things to achieve it. Our 3-year picture is built on our way to our 10-year.
Yes.
Our 1-year plan is built on our way to our 3-year. In 90 days is to ensure we achieve our 1 year.
Yeah.
So essentially every 90 days, we're working towards that 10-year.
Absolutely.
And it takes about a year of that cycle for teams to really understand the impact of the 10-year target. It's a simple statement, but it impacts a lot of the decisions we make through the year. And so it takes a full cycle for us to say, oh, okay, our 10-year target actually needs to be something more like this. And in that year time, that second pass around it is when the real conversations start of who do we really want to be?
Yeah.
Because at first it's just, we want to grow. Let's go to this, and this is how many of this, and here's X, Y, Z. But it really needs to be like, oh, okay, now I know this. We need to have this conversation. Do we really want to be a $50 million organization? Or do we just want to be a kick-ass $10 million organization? Let's define what that looks like. And when you gut check, it's like, look, I don't really want to be a $50 million organization. I'd rather be 10 and feel really, really good about it, Well,
and I think that's really important if you have multiple stakeholders or partners, right?
Yes.
So having the alignment on the 10-year target says there's no right or wrong on if two partners agree or disagree. You can both be right, but just value different things. So having a 10-year target that everybody buys into.
But everybody buys into, but it's driven by the visionary or the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
They have to believe in it so much because they're like everybody will buy into it if they do.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
and it is the tip to the spear.
Yes.
For everything.
Yes. And so if you're the visionary, you have to buy into your tenure.
Yeah.
Otherwise Otherwise, the system's going to break. You know, you have to love that tenure. You have to say that's exactly where we want to go and who we want to be.
And I encourage that it be pretty bold. We're not worried about the attainability of it right now. It's not a how,
No.
right? This is what that target is. And now you've got the system to help you figure out the how and the when to go about doing it.
Should be scary.
Yes.
Should be a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal,
Yes.
right?
Moonshot.
Moonshot.
Yeah.
It should feel that way. You should put it on the table, and then somebody goes, let's add 20%.
Yeah.
Right? It's like that kind of like, this is where we're at. It feels a little scary, and then add 20%.
Yeah.
That should be the feeling of this.
And it is that we're gonna put a man on the moon, right?
Yes.
I mean, and I don't know if was that in good great where, but you know, if you go speak to anyone at NASA, it's like, what do you do here? I'm helping put a man on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, now, when you get that 10-year target, well, one, I always tell everybody, pencil it in. Like this is, get the essence, pencil it in, live in it, quarter by quarter, reevaluate it. Eventually, that pencil will move to pen. But the 10-year target may not be anything that you're going to tattoo on your arm, right? Because in 10 years, you're not done.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to work towards that, and you're going to continue to evolve, and that will be a date or future time. And it doesn't have to be 10. That's the easiest thing to start with. But yeah, as you get to that, then you're recasting that vision every time you're approaching that 10-year target.
Yeah.
Correct?
And a lot of times, you'll see teams hit 10-year targets early.
Yes.
We do this system. We're going to hit it in 8 years. We're going to hit it in 7 years. One thing to keep in mind too, though, is we may have a quarter or 2 quarters at times where we go backwards for some reason, or we go offset for some reason. This should help us keep us focused and motivated to still drive that way, rather than freak out and say we have to change everything.
Yeah.
Right. That happens sometimes where we have to really gut check and say, no, we can, this is just a detour. We're going to be able to come back around, and it wasn't wrong. It wasn't a wrong target. Don't blame the target. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that's 10-year. When we go from 10-year, we then go down to a 3-year picture. And the 3-year picture, in the first time, a couple times I went through a 3-year picture in my own company and like using it, it felt a little light. It's like 10-year, 3-year. Okay, I just want to get to the 1 year, because the 1 year is like the actionable. Let's get going. Here we go. People do good 1-year plans a lot of times, but the 3-year, what I've started to recognize, and it started happening. It happened with me first, and I started seeing it in teams after about 2.5 years or 3 years. The amount of things that actually came true that were written down on that 3-year picture, and how close we came to the actually what was said, is amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's amazing that how often when it's written in that format, it happens.
Well, and we experienced that last year in our 1 year, right? We had some goals, and we got to the end of the year, and it was like, holy cow, if we wouldn't have written them down, we would have not we would miss an opportunity to celebrate.
Yes.
But I think the 3-year picture from the EOS perspective, right, has the role that it plays. But I also pair it with Dan Sullivan's R factor question, which is if we jump forward 3 years and this has been successful, how will you know? And I think the magic in that, like, that's the best consulting question you can ask someone because it removes current context. So, if you say, hey, what do we want to do by the end of this year? If you were trying to cast a 1 year picture, right, you got all kind of stuff going on in the world. You got current context.
And all your current baggage stops you from seeing what could be, right?
Yeah.
But in 3 years is far enough
3 years is
out.
far enough down to let go of current context and be like, okay, I'm not dreaming about 10.
Right.
3 years is attainable. And let's look and let's really, let's draft out. And I just like doing it in bullet points, whether it's 8, 10, 12, 20, but let's draft out what this 3-year picture is. And we do that as part of our brand exercise with our clients. And it really is like, close your eyes and let me read this.
Yeah.
And you listen to it, and then you get to the end and you say, all right, is this, can y'all picture that? And give the team the opportunity to respond. But I'm a fan of the 10-year target because that's, where we got to be today and where we want to be in a decade. But that 3-year picture, I think, is my assumption is often neglected because people want to get to the 1 year plan.
Yes. I actually think, though, it is the key in the rallying the team behind the 10-year and
Absolutely.
in some ways, because what's a 3 year picture done well? We start with revenue, we go to profit, we go to measurables,
Yeah.
we go to organizational size, we go to like processes being built in, and we just continue to go and describe that organization in that moment. So when we are there in that 3 year, on our way to our 10-year, this is what it looks, feels, smells like, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is like, it's a very, almost like an emotional, physical response to what this is going to feel like, right? And so we fight for what's on there as an organization, as a leadership team. Is it the right things? Is these? And so we're building this out, and you have this list that's got 10 bullets on it. And then we go and share that every 90 days that this is where we're going, this is what it is. And it really starts to paint a picture for people that can get excited, where 10 years is a little bit too much like, okay, Jimbo, yep, I'm glad we're going to be there in 10 years.
Yes.
3 years is like, okay, this is how I can start to feel it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've seen things, some teams do some pretty cool things with that. I was just at lunch with a visionary leader, organization growing like crazy right now. And what he's doing is every week in the company Slack, he's taking one of the bullets somewhere in the VTO and writing it and say, this is where it lives in the VTO, and you need to understand why it's there. And let me give you my perspective on why it's written the way it is. And he'll pull thing like a single bullet on a 3 year picture, put it in Slack and say, this is why this matters, and this is the way I feel about it.
That's awesome.
And it just is like this, like everybody starts to see what we're really building.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so 10-year target is fixed, but in our 1 year planning, annual planning every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're recasting the vision in that 3 year picture.
Yeah. So that's a good thing that people don't get right every time. 10-year target is fixed. And we should have said this earlier. 10-year target is really a core target. It can be between 5 years and 30 years.
Yes.
Type of organization, how fast you're moving, but typically it's about 10. The 3 year picture is always a 3 year picture, and this is done every year. And there's a main reason why it's done every year is because it's the bridge. It's the bridge between where we're at and how do we get to our 10-year. And so it just starts to give us this feeling of who we're going to become.
Yeah.
And so 2 reasons why we do the 3 year picture. One is the bridge, get everybody on the same page. We don't know kind of where we're headed. But then the second reason is to set us up for a really good 1 year plan. Because if we plan from what you're talking about, the R factor, if we plan without that R factor for the year, we're planning all the baggage.
Yeah.
We're just trying to fix our situation.
Yeah.
Rather than looking at it, if we go from the 3 year and say, well, if the 3 year becomes true, for the 3 year to be true, what does 1 year need to look like? A very different mindset when you build a 1 year plan.
And on that was something that I learned accidentally. So I was working with a boss one time, and we were trying to do a plan, and I was trying to get the goals out.
Yeah.
And it always became a challenge to figure out, like, all right, how are we going to get this? And finally I went on the whiteboard, and I was like, hey, let's just jump to the end of the year and we crush it. How will you know? Yeah. And that was before I ever heard the R factor question. But just that as a question, people will start thinking like, all right, this is what success could look like. And then you can back up and say, okay, what do we do with that now to be there? That was, a 1 year scenario, but it's the exact same exercise and more powerful at 3.
Exactly. You can put that in anything.
Yeah.
Start at the end and work backwards, not the opposite way around. Because we limit ourselves if we start with where we're at and what's our next step compared to where do we need to get to, let's back it up.
Yeah.
On what that
I think another good example of this I experienced was we were doing sales training.
Yeah.
And you had to sell a car. So it was post-COVID, so it was Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
But you were like, one of those put into a Zoom room. You have one person.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to qualify them. And it was selling a car. And if you ask the current state, what type of car do you need? Like this person that I was selling a car to would have said like, well, I've got a baby, I need this, I need that. And then, but if you jump forward 3 years and you say, what does your life look like? And they're going to be like, I'm out of diapers, I'm not having, a fourth child. Then it's like, all right, well, it's a totally different scenario of what car you would buy today versus if you're going to keep this car for 3 years or 4 years, right? So I thought it was another live example of that during sales training.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and that is the purpose of the 10-year, the 3-year, how those things should be built, what they look like. And I think one thing that I've seen teams do is we'll build those, and then we have them, we put them in a filing cabinet. Sounds good, we're good, right? But where they really start to come to life is when we are in the day-to-day and somebody's working on a rock or working on a project. You as a leader make the connection of the dots for people of like, hey, great job working on this rock or getting this far. It's really going to help us become who we need to be in 3 years because we have this bullet or because this is part of our picture. This is helping us to have the 50 brands activated because here's what that does for that. And make those connections for our team as well.
Well, that's good deep dive into 10-year target and 3-year picture.
Yeah.
From there, we back up to the 1-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your recommendation on is that a different topic we want to dig into separately, or where should we close up on the 1-year plan?
Yeah, I think just to put a kind of a bow on it all is when you go to the 1-year plan, now we're thinking much more tactical. But we're still keeping it from the lens of our 3-year, but we're adding in some of the perspectives of our current issues as well.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to do the same thing, revenue, profit, measurable. And one thing that we didn't talk about was that 10-year target measurable goes into the 3-year measurable, goes into the 1-year measurables and 90-day measurables. So we're tracking that down to a 90-day.
Yeah.
And so now we have that measurable, and now we talk about the top 3 to 7 goals. At the end of the year, what does it need to look like for us to be on our way to our 3-year? And then we plan every 90 days on that 1-year plan, and we win 90 days. My buddy Jeff Ruby would say that the greatest predictor of long-term success is your rock completion.
Yeah.
Because they're built from your 1-year plan, your 3-year picture, which is built from your 10-year target.
So a key takeaway here on 10-year target is visionary responsibility, right?
I think it's the visionary buy-in.
Yeah.
Like the visionary's got to love it.
Yeah, and get excited about it.
Yeah.
And it gets them motivated, and then they got to get everybody to rally behind that.
Absolutely.
And then takeaway on 3-year picture?
The big takeaway on 3-year picture is let it be an alignment tool and a motivational tool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my close would be just that idea of pencil, right? Draft it, marinate in it every 90 days, keep revisiting it. And it may take you 9 months, 12 months, 15 months before you really have the traction alignment around those two really well.
Absolutely.
So awesome.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
See y'all.